welcome to our series of chats around Valentine's, these few days around St. Valentine's Day. And as we say, you know, we think Valentine's, we think hearts and flowers and all that sort of thing. But these series of conversations we have with our local Carlow people, we're not focusing on the hearts and flowers. We're talking more about those relationships that are constant in our lives and sustain us in our lives. Now that said, I'm very lucky tonight to have Fintan Phelan, or today to have Fintan Phelan here with me. And Fintan, I suppose, of all our interviewees, you're probably more focused on the hearts and flowers. Fintan got engaged during lockdown, during COVID, and have plans for a wedding yourself and Sinead.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely, I've been all loved up now over the last couple of months. Got engaged last September to Sinead, so we're absolutely over the moon. We were going out for 8 years before that, so it's not before time. I'm constantly told, but we're getting married on the 1st of April this year, so we're looking forward to it, and planning is full steam ahead.
That's it. Great. Well, best of luck and
Thanks very much
to you both, Fintan. And I suppose, isn't it lovely to have that sort of special relationship in your life, and this stage of that special relationship is so special. But can I bring you back, I suppose, in your work as a counsellor, in, you know, your life is, your work life is so public. You're constantly meeting people, you're at meetings, and for the last 2 years that has all been so different. So what has been the biggest challenge for you in that area over the last 2 years during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I remember from March 2020 when the first restrictions came in, and you know, we all thought it would only be for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Certainly didn't think we'd be still living with it 2 years later. And I remember at the time, you know, my diary was very full with engagements and events, and all of a sudden that just switched off. And you know, people that you had arranged to meet were ringing to say, look, maybe we should you know, hold off for the moment. As things got closer and closer to the you know, people, there was a general anxiety with people over the first few weeks.
It was all so unknown to us, wasn't it?
Absolutely. There was a fear there. People didn't know what was coming, and I think that was one of the most at the beginning, one of the most challenging things was the general uncertainty. You just didn't know, and it was the first 3 weeks, and then it was, you know, we were in a lockdown then for a period of months, and people didn't know when it was going to end or how serious it would be. And I think it was that feeling that people had of, you know, where are not just the world going, but where are individuals going. And it was challenging for a lot of people.
For you, as you said, to go from a diary that's flying and you're making yourself coming back, and then what am I doing with myself?
Absolutely, because you know, when you're working in the council, you're constantly, whether it's meeting people from community groups or whether it's going to council meetings, you're constantly you know, meeting the public, and that's what it's about. That's what I love. That's the bread and butter, is being able to meet people day in and day out, and all of a sudden that's gone. But what I think is great, and I think COVID has definitely shown that, is we're really able to adapt as people. And you know, within a couple of weeks we were all on Zoom meetings. We never heard what Zoom was. And you know, we're using it every single day. And we're using webinars. We're adapting. And I think that was, for me, it was great to be able to do that. You can only imagine the pandemic in the early 20th century. You can only imagine what it was like for them without mobile phones, without internet. It's incredible how connected we were able to maintain. And you're constantly meeting people on Zoom, you're on the phone, whether it be on WhatsApp, whether it be on Skype, or whether it be on Facebook Messenger. You're able to constantly keep in touch with people. You weren't able to do that 100 years ago, and you can only how did they manage? How did they manage then? Absolutely.
And human beings were still the same. We still needed those human connections.
We need contact. Absolutely, absolutely.
So maybe your work life didn't, the way you did your work changed, but you still had those connections. You were still in contact with people.
Yes, absolutely. And I know in terms of the council itself, we didn't meet for the April and May, but then we were back meeting in June, and the minister changed legislation that we were able to meet remotely, and we were able to make the decisions remotely. And I think that's important, because your local democracy has to keep ticking over. It has to keep going. Decisions have to be made on a local level, and I think that was a good move that we're able to do that. And I think you can see that continuing. You know, that remote balance. I think it's given us all a chance to reassess our time. Our time is nearly the most valuable asset that we have, and I think it's made us look and say, well, do I really need to to go halfway across the country for that hour meeting. Could we do it over online?
Yeah.
And I think it's made us think differently. And I think stuff like that can stay into the future.
Great, and as you say, we've learned a lot. So in terms of your social connections then, Fintan, how did you navigate that piece?
Yeah, so all of a sudden you're not meeting your friends, and you're not, you'd be used to meeting people every day in work. You'd be used to going out at the weekend for a couple of drinks. All of that stops. And I think it's how do you maintain a relationship? Like a conversation on the phone with a friend is not the same as meeting them for a coffee. And you could meet a friend and you mightn't say anything for ages, but you're just enjoying a coffee, or whereas you can't maintain a silence online or on the phone. People are it's kind of in and out. It's a different, and you can't assess someone's body language. So that was definitely a challenge in not being able to see friends. What I thought was great was when we were able to kind of meet people in ones and twos outdoors. You could meet people at the fountain in town for a cup of coffee. You could go for a walk in Oak Park, and I tried to do as much of that as possible at the weekends, because it just meant you were able to keep that contact with your friends. When we were able to do that, I think people loved it. It also allowed us to explore our county as well and what's around our county. I think before the pandemic, I certainly know I didn't explore my county enough. And I think I definitely would have seen that over the course of the pandemic when we were able to go within our own county. I tried to get as many places as I could, just to try and see what Carlow has to offer, and it's a fantastic county.
That's it. So much. As you said, did. And even the country, we stayed at home for holidays when we could move. So there were positives out of the pandemic as well.
Absolutely. Like if you look at, I think we're now appreciative more of what's around us. If you look, even just take one example, Hanover Park in Carlow, like the council have put huge investment into that now, into trying to revitalise it. And I think it's fantastic, and it's an urban green space in the centre of town. And it should be there for people to use. And
even to walk through it, I know it's not finished, but even to walk through it with the dog at the minute, people are collecting there and they're sitting on those stones, and it is a nice space, and people are coming together.
Absolutely, and I think COVID, we've got into the habit of doing that now, of meeting someone for a walk. Whereas pre-COVID, we mightn't have done that as much. And I think there is a demand now to have open spaces like that in the county, and Hanover Park is a classic example of that. Oak Park is another great example, and I think I would encourage people to use them as much as possible.
And we have Rathwood, we have the walk in Rathwood, we have Altamount, we have so many places around the county, no distance out from the town.
Absolutely, and even down Boris, we have the viaduct down there, and that's recently now after being restored, and it's a walkway there, and the views on it are it's panoramic, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's just really nice. Duckett's Grove as well, so there's lots of great spots around Carlow.
So for yourself, Fintan, what would you say in terms of your own looking after yourself through that? What have you learned maybe, or what do you bring out of COVID? Hopefully we're moving from it. What do you bring in terms of your own resilience or skill set?
Yeah, what I found is probably sound odd, but it's to take that 5, 10, half an hour of time for yourself. So whether it's going for a run, and I found that very helpful for me. And I know you're saying, well, we were locked up, why would you need time for yourself? But I think, no, it's still important, because, what I found was we had adapted so well in terms of the online that now you're constantly online and your home becomes your workspace. And I found that you're in the house, where do you draw the line in terms of, whereas, where in the past you would have gone to the office, you would have come home. Whereas now your home is now your office. And it's that challenge to try and switch off. And I found what was very helpful for me was to, you finish your day and maybe going out for a run, 40 minutes along the Barrow track or around town, and it just helped me unwind. And then you came back, and maybe you could have your dinner, or you could relax for the evening, or if you had an event on. But it was just that kind of break, and I found that very helpful over COVID, and it's something I definitely want to try and keep up. Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of looking forward now, as I said, spring is coming. It's a great time to see COVID restrictions lifting. So what's the future for you? What are you really looking forward to now?
Well, I have a very important date on the 1st of April, so the wedding is absolutely, and I can't wait for that, and we're looking forward. And you know, it's nice we'll have all our family and friends together, and it probably will be the first big event that all the family will be at since the start of the pandemic. So I think that's definitely going to be looking really forward to that. I have another 5 months left as Cathaoirleach at the council, and there's a lot to do, a lot I still want to try and achieve. So that's going to be busy on that front as well over the next 5 months. I'm trying to give it my all, and it's trying to get around to all the places in the county. Whether it be I've been in Hackettstown, Ballin, Rathvilly, it's trying to visit people across the county, because you know the council, local democracy, and the county council that's the grassroots level, and that's where people have the most connectedness is with your council. In terms of all the layers of democracy. And I think it's important for the chairman of the council to be connected with people, to meet people, to hear what their ideas are. And you know, it was okay over the pandemic, you adapted and you were able to, you know, meet people on Zoom, but you can't beat that 2-minute conversation with someone on the street somewhere, and they might say, I have an idea for you, or I have a thought on something. That person might never ring you, but only for the bump into you, and only for the see you. And I think that's where, you know, that's what I look, and that's where you get to meet people. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of months. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Fintan, that's lovely, and it's lovely to hear somebody, a young man like yourself, with, you know, your priorities are so right. It's connections, it's looking after yourself, it's meeting the people, and I mean, you're saying that in relation to your work life in the council, but also in terms of your personal life. So you have the good balance there.
Thanks,
so
Rita.
Thanks a million, Fintan.
And can I say as well, it's been great how the Carlow Mental Health Association has adapted and has moved a lot of their events online. Like, you still, a lot of organisations might have said, well, we'll take a break for a couple of years, but you didn't, and you kept going. You had the Mensana Fest last October, and without question, you know, you're talking about resilience in a lot of those workshops, and they're helpful to people, and I think
what we've needed.
Absolutely. So every best wish to the Carlow Mental Health Association for the future as well.
We've had Jeanette behind the camera here today, and behind the IT stuff for so much of the lockdown, and I suppose we all have different skills in the organisation, so we're so grateful to have that mix and the support we always get in Carlow Mental Health Association throughout the town. Okay, so thanks a million.
Thanks, Rita. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a million.